Hello and good morning, Team Flynn. Thank you so much for joining me today on the income stream. Today, I'm just here to chill out, answer questions with you. We are coming into a holiday week here, and I appreciate every one of you who are here watching live. And if you're watching the replay, I appreciate you too. And whatever I can do to help you, I'm here to help. All questions are up for grab. Anything but home address, credit card numbers, social security number. I only have one of those. But anyway, I'm just really thankful to wake up every day, be here with you, serve you, and have some fun. So we're going to put on some music. We're going to tell some stories. We're just going to hang. We're just going to hang. So if you just put me on in the background, that's cool. If you want to hang out, chat with the chat, everybody's friendly here, the Quaranteam. What's up?
Bruh.
Thank you, and welcome to the income stream.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream. All while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
It's always good, important to get a good stretch, right, Dr. Joella? You're here with me. Hey, Captain, how are you today? I'm doing very well. Thank you, crewmates. Appreciate you. No imposters here, I hope. What's your social security number, home address, and bank account number? Oh, never mind. I didn't say bank account number, but I can give that to you if you want to, deposit, but withdrawals, maybe not. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. I already see some questions coming in, which is good. And again, we're just going to hang out. I do want to give a big thank you to Harris Heller here, who has created these amazing playlists here on YouTube and on Spotify called Stream Beats, to allow us to play them in the background, royalty-free, no license needed. Big thanks to Harris Heller. Haven't met the guy ever yet, but I would love to give him a big thank you. So I'm going to play Lo-Fi, which is the nice chill-out beat. We're going to bring the volume down just a tad, and let's just hang. We're like lounging. Let me know about the levels if things need to be moved up or moved down, and we'll go from there. So, Mayor says, hi, we miss you. I miss you too. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate you. I'm not imposter, says Manos. Who told you that? It was Gary. It's always Gary's fault. Yo, Bernard, you broke your website? I'm glad you were able to get it fixed. Okay, first question in from Michael. We're not keeping track of numbers today. We're just kind of hanging, chilling. Fighting imposter syndrome on a podcast I want to record, but I keep holding myself back. I need help on getting over a topic I know rather well. So I would just... number one, there's a few things you can do. You could just have a conversation with somebody about the topic. And sometimes when I just have conversations, like this is where I get inspiration for a lot of other podcasts and other things that I want to do, is just like talking to somebody about the topic and then, having them ask questions, or me seemingly or, apparently knowing a lot about a topic. I get really excited about it. And I'm like, wow, this should have been recorded. Like this would make complete sense to do that. And sometimes that's enough driver, because it's like, hey, it doesn't matter who's listening. What matters is just I'm having a good time and I love talking about this topic. So that could be number one. Number two, I think the answer here is just do it, right? I think you've heard the story of when I first started my podcast, bought equipment and sat down to record episodes starting in December of 2008. My first actual episode didn't come out until July of 2010, a whole year and a half. And that was that whole time that I was missing out on the opportunity to make connections with people, to grow my downloads, to bring my brand to a higher vantage point. And you are letting every day go by and not allowing yourself to connect with people who might want to chat with you or converse with you or hear you and yourself, or hear you and somebody else talk about this same topic too. I think imposter syndrome is important. It's not anything that often we can avoid, but we need to know how to change that story in our brain to go from nervousness and no thanks to excitement and yes, let's do this, right? Cool. Let's see. I saw a question from Andrew. Here it is. How important is it to have company name, phone number, email address, and social links displayed when first launching website? It's the only thing preventing my launch. I would say that you don't need a phone number in most cases. It depends on your business, obviously. If you are, for example, a pool construction business, like how are people going to contact you? Very much people in that space still like to reach out via phone, but a contact form, at least some way to reach out to you, would be okay. You don't need to, and I wouldn't recommend, in fact, putting your email address. So that removes two of those things. You don't need your email address. You You don't need your actual address. You don't need a phone number. I think a contact form is going to do the job, and also a little bit of a bio or an about page about you to just make that personal connection. I think that's why phone numbers actually do work, is because, oh, okay, this is a real person, or else they wouldn't put their phone number up on their website. But we don't want random people calling us. Number two, you want to control when you allow others to sort of interrupt your time, if you will. And with a contact form, at least you get to choose on your own time when you want to view those things versus a random call that can just interrupt you. Now, if that's obviously important for your business, then yes, put it up there. But in most cases, that's not necessary. And I would say, yeah, you might miss some stuff. You might forget. But the cool thing about a website, it's not like a stone engraving. It is a dynamically always ever changing thing that you can add things to or remove things from later. Good morning, Zanana. Good morning, Pat and friends. I'm on my phone today, so can't tag anyone. I wish that YouTube would fix that. I'm in a lot of live chats these days, especially as there's more downtime with the holidays, and I love going live and listening and watching people. I've been watching a lot of people go live talking about certain stocks and companies that I'm really a big fan of and investors in. I am a big fan of watching Pokemon card openers live and being involved in the chat. And, I want to talk to people and I want to tag people, but I can't do that when I'm on my mobile device, and it's kind of sad. So I hope they change that. Maybe a 2021 thing. We will see. What's up, William? Good to see you. Happy Sunday to you as well. Gabriella, I love this vibe. I love that you love this vibe too. What's up, Tim? Great to see you. Let's see. David says, Pat, you've helped many people start podcasts. What have you seen is the biggest hurdle setback people face that stops them from starting and continuing? This goes to exactly what we were just discussing with Michael. The biggest thing that's holding people back is themselves. This is what held me back, just kind of worrying about, well, what's like, honestly, when I think back, I'm like, what was I so worried about? And I'm thinking I was worried about whether or not people would listen to the show, but then I'm like, you know what? Even if not a ton of people listen, it's still going to be valuable because I'm making connections. I'm learning how to become a better storyteller. So there's more upside than downside for that one. I'm worried about what people will say about my voice. I was very, very worried about that. But anybody who doesn't like me because of the sound of my voice isn't somebody that I would want to serve anyway. So it's this imposter syndrome. It's just delaying. And I think the biggest thing that we could use to combat that would be some sort of accountability and or deadline. So the ability to always push things off is what is going to help us not get to where we want to go. So having either a deadline or whatever mechanisms you might need to follow through, that's really key, right? So whether it's another person that you say, hey, I'm going to launch this by this date, or you tell your audience and now you're held accountable and you don't want to let them down, or deadlines. Deadlines work really well for me, especially when there's a team or other people involved. So that's what I would say. And the other thing that I think holds a lot of people back is when they do the research and they see other podcasters out there doing this already. It's like, wow, how can I compete with them? I'm always going to be second best at best. But the truth is, most people are subscribed to more than one episode. When you create a new podcast, you're not necessarily even competing with other podcasters. You are adding and complementing to a person's playlist. And that's a big, big realization. And I think when you unlock that in your brain, you begin to realize that, wow, I can create even more value for people than what others are already doing. So you don't even have to worry about those other podcasters. The only thing you have to worry about is, okay, how can you create something different, better, that stands out, so that you will be added on to a person's playlist and not just like, oh, well, this is just like that other show, right? Hey, Archer, I realized I forgot to drop a super bruh. Happy Sunday, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate you for coming in. Whoa, I don't know why I clicked the story time. Story time music. Not really ready for that. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Good morning, listening while making pancakes. What kind of pancakes are you making, Shonda? Can you make me some? Let's see, we got, I know I'm going to watch that one over and over. That was a lot of fun. For those of you who might not remember that, I think that was on Thursday, was it not? Where I was essentially taking you behind the scenes on how I scripted out and am planning my next pre-recorded video that's going to be coming out on Monday or Tuesday next week. It's kind of interesting with the holidays coming up, but first half of the week should be fine. People are still working during that time, and I want to have as many views as possible. It's setting itself up for success, I'm hoping, based on a lot of research that we did, understanding how other videos that are ranking really high are, in fact, hooking people, and I want to do a better job of that, getting people to watch these videos longer. I already finished filming it, and I'm putting the final touches on the editing and adding pattern interrupts and stuff. And it should be good. I hope it does well. A lot of these videos that are like top X ideas for whatever have typically performed pretty well on my channel. And that's another big lesson, is like, pay attention to what YouTube is telling you. What videos in your library are doing really well, and might you consider doing a part 2 or a second or a follow-up to that? Let's see. Anything special planned for this week? So I'm going to be making a turkey, and this will be an interesting turkey recipe. If you look up on YouTube, the best way to make a turkey or something, I can't remember. It's from a YouTube channel called Tasty. And I'm not going to share it here because there might be some music that I'm not allowed to play in the stream here, but it is a very, very well shot video that is actually so easy to follow that my kids and I are going to help make the turkey together. And it requires breaking down the turkey ahead of time and then using a dry brine on it, and actually preparing this a day ahead of time. What happens is the dry brine sort of like sucks up all that really good juice and brings it to the surface where the skin is. And it's interesting because, you know, typically I see birds go in whole, right? But now we're going to break it down and we're going to do it that way. And it actually makes for a lot faster cooking time. But of course it requires that preparation. But I'm really excited to cut the bird down. I have never done that before, in fact, so we'll see what happens. What are your thoughts on the new terms, the new ad terms on YouTube? So Hey Archer is referencing the ability for YouTube to include ads on your videos, whether or not you choose to do that. So let's say that you have some really popular videos and you know you're not in it to make money through ads, or you aren't even qualified to make money through ads. YouTube can still pop in an ad before, maybe even in the middle. I haven't read fully through what's been going on. That's just kind of the news I've been hearing. And I understand where they're coming from, right? As a company, it's like, hey, they have probably more than 50% of their views, if not more. I'm just shooting in the dark there, but on videos that aren't with ads. So this opens up a whole new revenue stream for them. So on one hand, I'm like, okay, well, good for you, YouTube. Now let's like help creators out still in some other ways. What are you going to do with that extra money? Just pay your investors, or are you going to actually serve us creators? In which case, if this additional income means that there are going to be better machine and AI learning capabilities to better, have much better copyright strike and tools for us and other kinds of things that are better, then that's great. If you're going to reward and maybe support more creators with some of that money, maybe even have higher grossing ads for us, awesome. But if it's just like a money play and that's it, and there's nothing coming back to the creators who's actually the ones who are making this platform work, then that's not cool. That's not cool. This is nice, finished church, and I like the music and hearing answers as I make this week's brunch with biscuits. Very nice. Mosa, after watching your channel, I mustered the boldness to start my own podcast. Well done, Mosa. I love that. Congratulations to you. As much as this isn't as big in my country as yet, South Africa, I'm glad I took that step now. I think you're going to be really glad you took the step now too, right? You can be early on in your country, and a lot of podcasting is being put all around the world now. And the earlier you can get on, especially in these other countries where podcasting hasn't quite taken off yet, like it has in the US and the UK, I think you're setting yourself up for success. You can take a lead in that country. You can even get some perhaps even bigger media sort of coverage about these things. And I would go bold. I would go bold with it. You've already taken bold actions. Let's make it worth your while. And I want to congratulate you on that, Mosa. The other thing I will say is I'm really excited. I've talked about this before in some of our Fridays where we do predictions and stuff. One of my predictions moving forward is that the world is going to be even more online, right? Not everybody in the world is online these days. I don't know what the number is, but like, let's say half the people who are in this world are online. That means there's a whole nother half of people who have yet to find our podcast, to search on Google, to, become students of ours, etc. The language barriers are going to be broken down in the future, but also the internet barriers are being broken down. And with projects like Starlink from SpaceX, where they're going to, and they're already testing, and in fact, the speed, you can actually watch people already set up Starlink because it's in pre-release to some places that do have access to the range and the satellites that are above their areas. In Canada, for example, the speed is incredible and it's super easy to set up. And this means people in countries and in rural places all around the world are going to have fast internet, which is going to be insane. That's going to be incredible. I think that we're going to see this incredible sort of exponential growth with a lot of the stuff that we have going on now. And now's the time to get in. So, I know I'm preaching the choir here because you all are online now, but get ready for it. Get ready for it. Just like how we're starting to see big movements in the electronic vehicle market, we're going to see a lot of things happen once more people come online, which is insane. And again, these numbers are not exact, but I know it's a good chunk of people. Tim says, question, the old debate, quality over quantity. Is there a general sweet spot in your perception? Well, number one, on one hand, I know that if you strive for high quality and you don't come out with anything, then you might as well not do anything at all, right? So on one hand, you're like, okay, I want this video to be the best and I'm spending months on it, or this course to be perfect. But of course, if you go for that and you don't ever release it, or you're too afraid because it's not quite exactly where it needs to be yet in your mind, then it's not serving anybody, right? So there's this idea of getting to a point where it's good enough. This is the MVP, the minimum viable product, the minimum viable product to still serve people, even though it's not perfect. Perfection is just an excuse, in my opinion, and a form of this imposter syndrome that we often have. Then on the other hand, of course, you can come out with stuff every day, but if it's just for the matter of coming out with it every day, and just to kind of, I say that having gone live every day on YouTube here for nearly 250 days, that's how long we've been in this pandemic, or, because I started this thing when the pandemic started to go down. That's how I know how long we've been into this. And again, I'm grateful that I have an opportunity with the internet to show up here for you on YouTube, and the fact that you're here and we're communicating with each other. I never feel alone, and I have the family here at home, which is great, but I often feel even more connected, even though we are more separated than ever because of lockdowns and whatnot. This opportunity is really amazing. But the idea of coming out with stuff just to come out with stuff, just to kind of keep a streak going, unless there's some sort of value there, then it's not worth doing. So I think it's going to take time, and I don't think there's a quote unquote sweet spot. 3 posts a day at this many words or this many minutes per video. That's not the answer. The answer is, can you create value, and can you also stay sane doing that while kind of being consistent and striving for getting 1% better every day, right? I don't have my shirt with me that Randy bought for me the other day, or actually no, that was Randy's shirt. That's my thoughts on that. I don't know if that makes sense. MVP is what I needed to hear. Jameen, I'm working through the 1-2-3 affiliate marketing course. I wanted my focus product to be Michael Hyatt's full focus planner. He has minimum requirements I don't meet. Should I choose another? I would say yes, and what you can do is consider this as your goal to get to a point where perhaps this can help you and encourage you to get to that point that is now minimum requirements. And that's unfortunate. I think that makes sense for somebody who's big like Michael Hyatt, because of what that means is there's less work on their team's end to focus on perhaps smaller creators. And it's unfortunate because every once in a while you get that small creator who has this incredible relationship with their audience, like I'm sure you do, where it would still be of value to them. Now, I will say that perhaps you could benefit from reaching out to them and just saying, hey, I know I don't meet the on paper requirements, but here's why I think I would be a great addition to your affiliate team. Here are my plans. Here's some testimonials from people that I have in my audience. I plan on growing bigger. I will get there. But for right now, I'd still love to promote your stuff. And that could be a good sort of in between before you make a selection to go to a different product, for example. Fabrizio says, hi, Pat. I just started a podcast about Formula One. Awesome. And I'm wondering how to get more audience. Why social media are so bad in helping us? This is a great question. And it's a great perception that you have. And the reason this is the case is when you think about it, people on social media who are following you are already people who follow you. And when it comes to trying to get some growth for your podcast, social media doesn't actually do a really good job of this. You need 2 things to happen on social media for this to happen. Number 1, and also Ryan, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, Pat Flynn, for all you do. Spoke yesterday at my first ever conference virtually. Many of your tips were so helpful in making it go smoothly. Well done, Ryan. Congratulations. And that is awesome. That is awesome. Big welcome to all the newcomers in here. Thank you. And a big thanks to all the moderators who are in the house as well. We got Samson, Peasant Uprising, K-Walk, Comedy, who I believe is here as well. Thank you again. Now, to continue answering your question, you need a couple things on social media. Number one, you need a viral type post to then reach new people, right? Your followers would then share it with others, who would then share it with others. And that's a very hard thing to do with something like an audio podcast or something, right? You need something that sparks a conversation in order for that to happen, or something really entertaining, something that, captures people's attention, stops their thumbs from scrolling. That's what you need. And that's very often difficult to do. The other thing you need is just for your existing audience to get encouraged enough to go and listen, but that might already be happening, right? So the thing is, we need to get in front of new audiences. We need to get in front of people who don't know we exist already. In social media, there's a lot of friction in order for that to happen, right? We can't just go into groups or have existing go into existing conversations and channels and just start spamming our stuff. We need to be endorsed by or invited by that community in a sense. So a couple things that I often recommend are, connecting with other people, and yes, inviting them on your show if possible to hope for some love back. And that's sort of a long-term play, a long-term relationship. But the other thing that I recommend doing is being a guest on other people's podcasts. So I'm guaranteeing there are other Formula One podcasts out there. And if you have a unique take, a unique angle, you've done some deep analysis or research, or you have these incredible insights or something, you need to figure out what your superpower is going to be so that when you go on these other podcasts, it's not about you being on the other show. It's about the information, the stories, the whatever it is that you have to offer to that audience and that other podcaster. And when that happens, you get to be in front of other audiences in a place where people are already listening to podcasts, so there's less friction, meaning people who are listening to podcasts, it's very simple to go and subscribe to another podcast, right? And they're already on their app of choice versus social media or an ad where they have to click on that, then they have to listen. It's distracting them from what they were there to do in the first place. And it's really hard to get people to go from not even knowing you existed to now listening and subscribing to your show versus getting introduced to you by somebody else and getting endorsed, if that makes sense. Karen, you just mentioned something the other day about ads and wanting to have ads until the video was a few days old. Could you do an income stream of YouTube monetization? So YouTube monetization is something that I don't have a ton of experience about. I mean, I do have, so there's a number of different ways that you can do ads on YouTube, right? I don't know if Karen, let me reread this question. You mentioned something the other day about ads and waiting to have ads until the video is a few days old. Okay, so in that case, that's specifically for the income stream here, because I used to have ads on before I would go live, and I would find that most of you had to skip those ads and then would miss the beginning of the show. And it's like, okay, well, that's not bringing me a ton of additional income that's worth your hassle, right, to do that. So I turn ads off, and then I wait a day, and then I put the ads on to the income stream after for people who watch the replay. But there's other kinds of ads, right? There's ads in our pre-recorded videos, in which case, if you have a video and you are over 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 total hours of video viewed within the last, I can't remember how many days, month, year, I don't know, that's a big time span, so I apologize. But when you unlock that, then you can choose to have ads show up in your videos, and you can make money that way. And you can choose to have it show up pre-roll, post-roll, both, or even mid-roll if you're over 8 minutes in length in your video. And those mid-roll ones do really well, but it is, again, interrupting the flow of that video. Many creators are doing a really good job of manually putting in where they can do the ad right before some big reveals so that people will want to actually continue to watch forward, and then you do make a few extra dollars there. And it's becoming more and more common, and people are less and less upset about it these days, but you can't overload it, and it can still ruin the experience of watching your video. The other way to do ads is to actually run ads on other people's YouTube videos, meaning you have a program or a coaching program, or you want to build your email list or something, and you can serve your videos to people who watch other people's videos, and you become one of those pre-roll, mid-roll, or post-roll ads. And that's something that I'm looking forward to experimenting with in 2021 for sure. I appreciate you. Let's see. Question from Chris. Oh, within a year. Thank you, Andrew. My YouTube channel plays original instrumental music. I'm also working on a live stream since music is subjective. What would be the best way to get more views and subscribers? So the live stream stuff is definitely a long-term game, but it's growth from the inside that's really, really helpful. I found that when you have fans or people who love to show up every day, they tell their friends, and many of you who are here are here because other people have told you about this, or eventually you found that. The consistency, going live very, very, consistently is very key. And one thing I learned from Harris Heller is if you want to grow your live stuff, whether it's on Twitch and or YouTube, pre-recorded videos will help. Meaning if you can take or chop up pieces of that live stream and pop it into your channel pre-recorded, or, upload it. And if they're very specific to people's search terms or giving away a lot of information or very inspirational or motivational or entertaining, those little clips can be shot out to way more people because it's treated differently than a live video. But if you can have specific times and dates where you go live and just kind of make that a part of your messaging in those pre-recorded videos, then it's more likely people might show up to that. What's up, Ray Edwards? Ray Edwards in the house, my friends. Copywriting royalty is here. Be sure to subscribe to Ray Edwards. He's got some great stuff coming up in the world of YouTube very soon. Mayor says, what's the best AI tool for future digital marketing? Wow, what a question. It depends, right? There's AI tools everywhere. There's AI tools here on YouTube to determine which videos should be placed in front of other people's faces when they're done watching a video, right? That's AI involved. There are tools that can help us transcribe our videos and our podcasts, and that's AI based. And then we can use tools like Descript to even use and write things that can share things in our own voice. That's AI. There's AI in terms of Google search and things that can be better explained. There's AI with advertisements. So I think it really depends on what your goals are, and might there be a tool or some sort of mechanism by which we can save time, we could become more efficient, or have more reach using those tools. That's kind of where I would lie. So I don't have an answer for you like, oh, the one AI tool you should get is blank, but it depends on what your goals are and what you might need help with, and might there be tools to help you get better or do better with that. What is the best or easiest way to promote your online course? I'm using the Teachable platform. My absolute number one favorite way to promote an online course is to share the transformational success stories from students within that course. Now, of course, a horse is a horse, of course, of course. Let me know if you know what TV show that was from. A horse is a horse, of course, of course. Wow, I don't know where I was going with that one. But anyway, if you are starting a course for the first time, then obviously you don't have these success stories to share. And a blog or a podcast or a video channel or even on a sales page alone can be a great place to showcase these stories. But if you don't have these stories, what do? Well, go get those success stories, or find a success story of how you've helped transform somebody. And even though it may not be about that course, at least there's some transformation there related to this particular topic. Mr. Ed, yes, indeed. Mr. Ed, with his crazy teeth. I just have Mr. Ed and Lassie. Lassie, oh Lassie. And then I'm just hearing the music. And Flipper. These are all like shows on Nickelodeon. Wow, bringing me back. Love it. But if you don't have these success stories, then go get them. Get some beta students, give away your course to one or two people who you know really need help, so that at the end of this, you do have that transformation to share, because better than we can do on our own, better than a copywriter that you could hire, no offense, Ray Edwards, the stories from successful students in your course will do a much better job of selling your stuff, because now it's not you selling it, it's them. It's from the example of somebody who was not too long ago, just like the person who is going to potentially buy this, right? And this has worked so many times. In episode 285 of the Smart Passive Income podcast, I featured 3 success stories, students from my course, Power Up Podcasting, on this podcast. I interviewed all 3 of them in this episode, 15 minutes each. And just to give you an example, the first interview was with a woman named Dr. B. And no, I didn't ask these people to come on to answer questions like, hey, tell me why Power Up Podcasting changed your life, or tell me why I'm awesome. You don't want to position it that way. It was, why did you want to start a podcast in the first place? And Dr. B told this amazing story about her growing up with somebody who was close to her with ADHD and wanting to support them, and now wanting to share what she learned with the world. Very, very, very mission-based, and I love that, so people can connect with that. And then, well, what was the struggle? What was taking so long? Why didn't you start a podcast in the first place? Oh, I was too scared. I'm over 60 years old, Pat. I'm afraid of technology. It's just, I thought it was so hard to do. And I was like, okay, well, keep going. Tell us your journey. Oh, well, then I discovered your course, and I was there and I got it. And Pat, you just made it so easy. Your course is so easy to understand, even for somebody like me. And now the person who's listening to Dr. B tell the story is like, wow, I was scared of the technology too, but Dr. B being over 60, she's done it. And now I think I can do it too. That one podcast episode accounted for over $150,000 worth of sales because I'm telling the story, or I'm bringing the story out. And if anybody here is a podcaster, you know that the most powerful thing you can do is to pull out that story from the person that you are actually serving, or for the person that you are actually serving, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And the other part about this is to then paint a picture of what life is now like, right? This is sales 101, right? Ray can attest to this. The before, after, amplifying what happens if we were to not do something, showcasing the visuals and the success stories that we can all imagine unlocking once we get access to this course or program, or, and again, the big thing here to understand is this. People don't want to buy online courses. We don't want to subscribe to email lists. We don't want to do this. We want the end result of what that course will offer us. We want the end result of what that email is going to describe for us, right? So that's what we're selling. So when you're doing these podcast interviews, ask questions like, well, what's life like now? Or what is unlocked for you? What have you been doing now that your show is up and running? Or now that you've completed whatever it is that you're helping people with in your course. And Dr. B told this beautiful story, again, about how every time she gets a new listener in a new country, she puts a pin on a map in front of her computer. And I asked her, well, how many pins do you have? And she said, I'm in 33 different countries now, Pat, thanks to you. And again, I didn't ask for a testimonial. It just naturally came out. So this is very much along the same lines as Donald Miller, story brand, painting the picture of the hero of the story. Not us, though. You. Or not you, your customer, your subscriber, your student, right? There we go. I hope that helps. What do you think about the card website builder? It makes some really special looking websites. I have not checked that out, to be honest, Manos, so I apologize. I haven't. Edwards came in. Michael. Pat, your videos convinced me I could do my own podcast, so thank you. Question, with everything so politicized, how do you stay away from controversy and still cover topics in the news and culture? I don't get deep into choosing one side or another. I get deep into, no matter which side you're on, how this information I'm about to share with you is still going to be relevant either way, right? So that's kind of the deflection, if you will, is, okay, this stuff's happening. Like, I'm not going to avoid the fact that we are in a pandemic. I'm not going to avoid the fact that, okay, there's an election and we might not know what's going to happen or anything like that. But I never say one is better than the other. And I think that's important. I let people decide on their own. I just come with facts, and I come from a place of, okay, well, no matter what happens, here's the stuff that's still going to be important and relevant moving forward. I hope that makes sense for you, Michael. Let's see. Timmy's in a well again? Thumbs up for the host, and happy Sunday to you. Thank you, A Positive Lifestyle. I appreciate that. Yeah, and if you can hook me up with a thumbs up, that'd be great. If you're here for the first time, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to make sure that you don't miss out on any of these other videos that I have coming out to serve you, hit that bell notification icon too. And that also helps me find more people, because that signals to YouTube that people are liking this, they're loving it, they're gonna send it to more because they want more people to come in who will wanna watch and stick around. And the fact that you're sticking around means it'll be shared with other people like you. I love it. Thank you so much. Wow, I just received a book from a student who took a beta course on Write a Good Book, decided not to launch, but seeing her success was gratifying. So this was something that Grandma Goody shared with somebody else. Yes, it's very gratifying. The other thing about this is when you pull these success stories out, it makes you more confident in what it is that you're selling. The truth is, and this is a big lesson, if you're not sure about what it is that you're selling, then how in the world could a person you're selling it to be sure about it too? Now your marketing messages is either gonna feel really slimy and icky, or it's going to come across not confident. Oh, yeah, you can get this, but it may or may not help you. Well, it's not going to be good enough for a person to be convinced, because people are going to be spending their money and or their time, and they're not just going to do that with anybody. They want to make sure it is valuable, right? If you don't think it's valuable, then how in the world can your audience think it's going to be valuable? That's a big, big thing to understand. Jameen, what is a trustworthy resource to learn about cryptocurrencies? That's a good question. I do have some Bitcoin. I use the Cash App to invest in that, but I don't know much about it other than its diversification in my portfolio. I would say that there is a resource on YouTube that does talk about cryptocurrencies every once in a while. He's more of a Tesla investor, but he does get into some other things. His name is Dave Lee. He is somebody who, in fact, does follow SPI or had once followed SPI. And he had a guy recently on his YouTube podcast as an interview about cryptocurrencies. So that might be an interesting resource to that particular interview. Dave Lee on investing. And I like him because he comes from at it from a non-emotional point of view, right? It's like, okay, let's just like look at the facts. Let's understand exactly what's going on here and take an approach of like, research and let's be smart about this. So that can help for sure. Ooh, Journey with Leong says, what Philippines dishes should we try when, I lost it. When we're at a fine Philippine restaurant. Okay. So there are, like in many Asian cultures, there are dishes that are like the ones that, Americans and most people know about, like the popular dishes, right? And I would definitely try those because they're popular for a reason, right? But like in the Indian cuisine, it's like chicken tikka masala, right? And samosas. It's like almost Americanized now by this time. With Chinese food, it's like chow mein and egg rolls, right? It's like, oh, that's Chinese food, when really it's not like the real Chinese food, but it is kind of Chinese. Like anything that you can get at Panda Express, like orange chicken, it's like, okay, well, that is Chinese food, but it's also like the Americanized version of Chinese food. But if you haven't tried any Filipino food, that's where I would start, because it's like, it's going to draw you in, right? And so in that case, I would definitely recommend pancit, P-A-N-C-I-T. That's sort of the chow mein equivalent. And it can either use a thick noodle or a thin noodle. I like a thin noodle. And chicken adobo is great. A lot of Filipino cuisine uses a lot of soy sauce and vinegar, and I love that sort of like tangy sort of flavor with things. So chicken adobo is great, often with a lot of sauce on the rice, and that's really amazing. Lumpia, which is their version of egg roll. I mean, it's very similar, right? There's also a lot of other cuisines that honestly, I'm more in the like Americanized camp of Filipino food. I know I'm half Filipino. My wife is full Filipina, but she is very similar to me. We don't go hardcore with like, there's dishes that usually that like literally are made of like a pig's blood. There's something called balut, which is a delicacy, which is like an egg with the embryo of a chicken in it still, like half developed. Like, I wouldn't touch that, but and sorry for that visual, but there's just parts of different cultures that are like way beyond my taste bud wants. So anyway, adobo's good, lumpia is great. Yeah, lechon, thank you. So that's a roasted pig, typically with a very crispy skin and rice on everything, right? That kind of thing. All right. Nilufar, I apologize for butchering your name. Pat, I'm on the starting stages of a podcast as starting a business, from scratch. What is your social media advice for such a start? So for me, for social media is about connection, learning more about who your audience is, showing up in ways and discovering what it is about you that in fact people do resonate with, experimenting with interactions, different questions, which questions get more likes or more answers than others. Social media to me is just a place to experiment, right? That's how it is in my view. It is second place, a place for driving traffic. I use it first as a place to get to connect with people, to get them to know me, for me to get to know them more, to understand what groups of people are out there are talking about what and trying to add value to those conversations. And again, experimenting to see, okay, well, I'm going to say this and see how people respond to it. And if people want to learn more, then great, that's a signal. And I can bring that more in a more public place like a blog or a podcast, because I've already gotten some insight on a quick, easy communication platform like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or what have you, right? So that's kind of how I use social media. What is BYOB? So BYOB, for those of you who don't know, is not bring your own beverage or beer, although it was purposefully that acronym, and it's actually build your own brand. And this is a 5-day sort of course that I have for free. It's always been free. It will be free forever. And actually, it's going to be updated in 2021, so I'm really excited about that. And it will remain free after that, but it'll walk you through exactly how to get a domain, how to build your website, and how to put a brand on top of it, right? Not just like, okay, do these things to get a WordPress site up and then kind of leave you on your own. But I do talk about branding and sort of like the overall impact that you and your messaging might have and those kinds of things in that program. So that is, when covering a topic, how much research should you do? Should you become an expert or just know enough to cover the topic sufficiently? I think that's going to be up to you, right? I think that it depends. For example, when people have guests on their show for a podcast, an author, for example, are you in the camp? Let me know if you are team A. You're in the camp of doing as much research as possible. You read that book because you want to be on that same level and you want to kind of understand how to have a conversation. You want to know where that conversation wants to go. That's team A, for those of you in the chat right now. Team B is you just kind of want to know what it's about so that you can ask questions and put yourself in the same shoes as your listener. There is no right answer. I do have a I have a preference, and I want to know what your preference is. There's pros and cons to both sides, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute, but this goes to this question of research. So are you team A? I have an author on the show or that I'm going to interview. I want to learn as much as I can about that book and all the things about them so we can talk about those things on the same level and engage in that conversation. Or are you team B? Are you somebody who likes to do little research so that you use the interview as the research process and you're asking questions? So let me know which and where you lie. Elena, thank you so much for the super chat. Wow, that's super generous of you. I appreciate you for that. You're amazing. I'm so team A, says Gabriella, but would rather be B. So I will say team A is, number one, going to take a little bit more work, but it is definitely something that allows you to, number one, learn and also invest into that conversation, as well as become just more knowledgeable about a topic. And that, of course, looks really good in front of an audience, right? So you might think, okay, like team A, for sure, that makes complete sense. But I actually love being in team B. If I have an author on the podcast, I would much rather not do the research. And that might sound counterintuitive, but the reason is because I want to know just enough to engage in a conversation so that I can be the most curious person possible. There is this thing called the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge. This was written about in a book called Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. And in this book, they talk about the fact that if you know something, it's very, very difficult, in fact, almost impossible to know what it's like to not know that thing anymore, right? It's impossible. And unfortunately, because of that, it's very difficult to get on the same level as those who you are teaching if you're teaching something that you know and then they don't. So in my case, as an interviewer, I would much rather be in team B for number one, very selfish reasons. Number one, it's just less time. Like when I am preparing for an interview, I only need 10 minutes versus 2 weeks of preparation to read that book and make notes and stuff. And again, that's fine. That's not my style though. And if you're team A, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just telling you my positioning here in the podcast space, plus just what I have time for. And B, it allows me to become the most curious person possible, right? It also allows me to, my favorite comment when I do a podcast interview is when I hear comments from podcast listeners who tell me, Pat, I don't know how you do it, but you always seem to ask the question that's on my mind. What's that song that's like, on my mind, on my mind. Yeah, anyway. That's just my opinion. But that's my favorite comment. Because I want a person to go, man, Pat, you get me. This is why I listen to the podcast. You get me. But if you're team A, it's like, wow. You know so much, like I need to learn more from you. It could go both ways, right? It could go both ways. So now I'm team C, says Journey with Leong. Natural Living with Zanana. Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. Good timing. So many gems here today, Pat. Thanks so much for this and all your videos. You have helped me so much in my YouTube business. I appreciate you. There's no need to pay anything here, but I will happily accept them and push them forward to the different charities and the different organizations still helping teachers. Teachers are struggling, and this month we've continued to support teachers. I just do this privately. I don't make a big deal about it, but I don't, like, there's a balance, right, when it comes to charitable giving and organizations. It's like, I don't want that to be the center of everything. I don't want that to be like, oh, look how great Pat is because he's donating to teachers. I've been doing it privately, and at the same time, it's like, well, if you didn't know I was doing this, then you don't know that you could also support it, right? So anyway, I do appreciate the support. It's all getting passed forward, but I'm not going to make a huge deal about it. And we're going to start with some additional new charities in 2021, starting in January, when we get into the final home stretch of day 365. After day 365, chat, I'm really thinking of not doing this daily anymore, but doing it maybe twice a week at very specific times that remain the same all the time, and we can go deeper, and we can have them scheduled way ahead of time, and you just kind of know, right? So it's not going to be daily after 365. It may be daily for 365 for a while. I don't know, maybe 400. But then I'm like, okay, if I get to 400, maybe I'm going to go, okay, well, we're so close to 500. Let's just get to 1,000. And then I'm going to be like 90 years old streaming every day. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But we're going to get to 365 no matter what. Yes, I will be streaming all Thanksgiving week. I will be streaming through holiday week, Christmas, all that stuff too. So anyway. Oh, music just got louder in the Bleach review. There we go. Sorry about that. My system audio was unmuted and it was doubling up on the audio, so I apologize about that. Thanks for letting me know. Let's see here. Pat Flynn, thank you. Love this. I did this with an author and love the validation that I'm not just being over woo-woo, following intuitively. Pokey Kobe, what's up, Pokey Kobe? Good to see you here, my friend. Thank you so much. You know what? I gotta say, just let me say this for a second. I'm turning the music off. There are so many amazing people here on YouTube, right? You're all amazing for being here, by the way. But I have been received with welcome arms, open arms in the Pokemon community. I've been watching a lot of Pokemon cards. I'm investing in a lot of them now. And every time I come in these live streams and I just say hello and I chat, it's just like, people are so friendly in this space. And it's not like you might think about, okay, Pokemon cards, it's like, okay, like little kids, right? No, these are like people my age who were kids when this stuff came out, who now have money to invest, who are now collecting things that they've always wanted to collect. I think nostalgia is a big part of it. I think that the pandemic has spurred this on too. Plus with just the rise, the astronomical rise in just the hobby and prices in general. It's been really interesting. But man, like literally having now like text conversations with some of these people who I just met like a month ago, and literally it's like a whole new set of friends. And I just Kobe and Rev and Pokedeek and all these other people who I've gotten to meet recently. It's just been really incredible. And they're so smart. Like I'm really inspired by some of these people who are going all in on their passion. And it is so cool. It is so cool. My friend Nick, who has a channel called PokeRev, he started his channel less than a year ago. He just crossed 120,000 subs. And he has live streams, get this. So we have less than 100 people watching live. And this is a Sunday, so there's less people typically on Sundays. Nick will be going live later today, doing a box opening thing. He will have 4, 5, sometimes up to 10,000 people watching live. And of course, it does come with growing pains. He even told me this the other day. He was like, I don't know how to manage chat. I'm like, I don't know either. But he has mods and other things like that. So anyway, it's just really cool. It's just super cool. There's so many friendly people out there. Thank you. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Question: if you weren't collecting Pokemon cards early on, is it worth buying cards now? That's a good question. I don't know if I'm necessarily qualified, although I have been doing research. There are a lot of people that have been saying that, investing in vintage cards, which can be a little bit more expensive, is great. Modern sets, not so much, because they're just new and they're printing them like crazy and they know they're making a lot of money, and the value of those is not going to increase until for a while. Although that being said, there's some sets that came out recently last year, one called Hidden Fates, for example, where you could buy a tin with 3 booster packs in it for $20 at the time it came out, and each of those tins now are worth like $70 to $80. But you have to hold on to them, and I think it's important to still enjoy the thing. I wouldn't do it just to kind of make money, because there's, I think, other ways to, like, if money is your thing and you're not into Pokemon, then like why? But right now I think there's huge opportunity. I'm not a financial advisor, by the way. I'm just saying this based on my own experience. I am heavily investing in a lot of electronic vehicle stocks right now. Tesla has been really good to me. Neo has been really good. There's been some other ones. There's another one coming out called Arrival, which is a UK-based electronic vehicle company, but it's not cars for consumers. It's cars for delivery services. So think UPS, and they have a contract that was just signed that's going to give them billions of dollars with UPS recently, which is really cool. And I'm digging into the research, and I'm loving YouTube for having people who are like so into this that they go deep into the numbers. This is why I love Rob from Tesla Daily. Rob is just insane in terms of the numbers and what he can do with a lot of the things that are happening out there in the world. And I'm understanding Tesla better. Like, I know more about Tesla than these people who show up on Yahoo Finance and, as Stephen Mark Ryan says, CNBS is what he calls them. CNBC, but he calls it CNBS, which is kind of funny because they just don't know what they're talking about, right? And these retail investors who are on YouTube have just a completely different understanding. And even Elon Musk has given a shout out to the retail investors who know much more about the company than these other people who get paid to advise. Anyway, it's just super interesting. It's just super interesting. Martin, thank you. Just thankful for you, my friends here. My world changed the day you started these streams, starting to believe in my brand. Dude, Martin, you're over 1,000 downloads on your podcast, right? And probably if you're following the pattern like a lot of people who have finally experienced growth after finally making that dedication to your stuff, you're probably going to get to 2 million even sooner, right? I saw the same thing here on YouTube. It took me 9 years to get to 100,000 subscribers. It took me 1 additional year to get to 200,000. This third year has been a little slower because I have been less dedicated to the same kind of videos that did bring on that growth before. I've been doing more live streams versus pre-recorded videos. But 2021, I'm saying it here for the first time. By the end of next year, I'm going to have 500,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And I just want to preface this by saying it's not all about the numbers. It's not all about having so many subscribers, but it is a byproduct of what I hope to achieve here, right? I always say that the numbers or your earnings or the subscriberships, whatever, are a byproduct of how well you serve your audience. You can serve your audience in different ways. There's 3 ways to do it. There is being entertaining, there is being educational, and there's being inspirational. And when you can increase all those things, this is why I think, again, a lot of the Pokemon community has grown, right? It is super entertaining, right? Just the idea of like, I'm going to open up this, I don't have any with me right here, but I'm going to open up this booster box, this pack of cards, and this box right here might hold the big one that we've been looking for this whole time. Let's see. That's entertaining, right? Every one of those live streams, even like the ones that happen late at night and there's like 20 people watching, I go on and I say thanks because it's just super fun to watch. And that's entertaining. It's educational because people like PokeRev and other people are actually explaining about these cards. Oh, this card was introduced in the Fossil set at the end of 1999. Fossil set had 2 print runs, the first edition, and then that's with the pack that has the first edition stamp, and then the second edition, which is called Unlimited, that came out later. In fact, it was just like the Japanese version that came out a couple years beforehand, but to increase the number of cards to 62, they created holo versions of some of these cards just to add more cards in there from Wizards of the Coast. Like, I'm getting educated at the same time, and that's pretty cool. And now I feel like I know more than some other people, and that's a value to me, right? And then number 3, it is this idea of inspiration. And Rev and a lot of these other Pokemon people are very inspiring, especially their story, but they encourage positivity. One thing that Nick always says is, let's keep it Poke positive here, right? And he's inspirational. And like, people come on. I saw a comment from somebody watching the stream the other day who said they were in the hospital watching and they had gone through some traumatic experience, but watching the live stream was just inspiring them and encouraging them. And I was like, dude, this is sick. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. You can connect with people and inspire them, motivate them. You can educate them, and you can be entertaining in your own special way, right? And so I think that's important, right? Dr. Joel says, I predict you'll have more than 500,000 subs by the end of the year. I'm very, very adamant on doing what it takes, but doing it right. Because obviously I could pay for 250,000 subs tomorrow, and that would not be cool. I would never do that. Don't ever recommend doing anything like that. But again, numbers are just numbers. I want, yes, 500,000 subs by the end of 2021, but I want many, many more people to find me so that I can help them, right? And I want to see positive comments in the comment section. I want to become known here on YouTube as being the person who can help people start businesses. And that's what I've been shooting for, but I've been having mixed messages and I've been trying and experimenting. Next year's the year. Next year's the year. And it's going to be the year for you too. Sue, here's to 500,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate you. Any thoughts on podcasts on Sirius XM? You know, honestly, whatever places you can post podcasts, I would pop them on there. Sirius, like other directories, are getting way more involved in podcasts now. I think that this is, again, just a sign that podcasts are here to stay, but they're coming. They're coming, yo. And I think once we get back to normal, you know, I saw an article that maybe by December 11th, at the earliest, people can start getting some vaccines. That's going to be really interesting. We will see what happens, but we are, I don't know if we're coming down now, or, you know, it seems like things are going up, but we'll get back to a place where we once were in some way, shape, or form, where people are then commuting to work and having more and more time to listen to podcasts. So we have seen dips in most cases in terms of podcast listeners, but it's those who are using this time to build strong relationships. It's those who are using this time to learn about what's working, what's not, to get through those mistakes, to be a disaster at this point so they can become the master at the future point. Is those are the people who are investing in their future right now, right? And I think that we're going to see this superb upward trend, and we don't want to lollygag on that opportunity, right? And I will be continuing to stream so we get over the 5-minute mark, because I'm not ending right at the hour. So I did get the secret word in. I'm just letting you know. And that was a good use of it. I think a much better use than I have before, right? I agree, Doug. More subscribers equals more people like us equals more positive impact. Yo, I don't know if Bill's here, but for those of you who were in yesterday, do you remember Bill, Uncle Bill? We watched his videos, and he, like, the title and the thumbnail were not intriguing at all. But once we started watching his videos, he was like this really cool, quirky kind of uncle guy. He's showing you these cool like things, and it was like a variety show. And he's just been going crazy with like changing things. He even messaged me later and was like, "Hey, here's what I've done already," or here's like what I'm gonna be known as. And I'm just like, wow, this is cool. Because those of you who are here, who are not just learning, it's one thing to get inspired and get educated. It's a whole nother thing to take action on these things, because it's this beautiful positive feedback loop. Poke Kobe, what's up? Thank you so much for becoming a member, my friend. I appreciate you. Yo, definitely check out Poke Kobe and the entire Pokemon community for all the support that they're a great example, right? It's just, there's so many different kinds of people who can do the same thing in their own special way, right? And I think that's so dope. Yes, Uncle Bill. Uncle Bill's dope. Who else is going to watch the live premiere of The Miracle Morning on 12/12/20? Man, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have some more info about that later, but we had Hal Elrod on from The Miracle Morning, the author of The Miracle Morning on. I'm in a movie. So I'm excited. By the way, did you know I have an IMDb? This is just sort of a random thing. But I don't know if you know that I have an IMDb. And there I am. Producer for The Miracle Morning. Producer for Surf Noir, which was a project by my friend who stars Trojan Belisario. It's just a little short film. Who I just worked with the director, and I shared some money with them to support this project. This is what I'm known for, though. Crooked Arrows. I was, in fact, an extra in Crooked Arrows. Anyway, what else am I in? Generation Freedom, another documentary that came out. So I'm building my IMDb, which is pretty crazy. But anyway, this is the movie that we were discussing, The Miracle Morning, coming out and premiering, streaming on 12/12/2020. And this is, look, it has Lalia Ali, Robert Kiyosaki, Lewis House, Pat Flynn. I gotta put my face on there. Why isn't my face on there? I don't even know how to manage my my IMDb. Anyway, super fun. How do we sign up? I think it's, what is it? The Miracle Morning Movie.com, I think. miraclemorning.com. miraclemorning.com. 19 days, 22 hours, 58 minutes, and 1 second. Get the movie and ticket to world premiere. I think if you go to themiraclemorning.com/ was it Pat? Nope. SPI? Nope. Pat Flynn? Nope. K-Walk or anybody? Might you remember the link that we shared? I can't find it, but I apologize. We had a link to get a discount, I think, and I can't remember what it was. It was that episode. If somebody wants to go in and find the episode that we did with Hal Elrod on the show, I think somewhere we talked about it. Can't remember, so I apologize. I'm sure there's a YouTube video on how to manage your IMDb. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. That's always the answer. How do I do this thing? I would just go to YouTube. Yesterday, I used YouTube to learn how to take the plug out of the sink so I can get down in there with a snake, move it around, and unplug my son's sink. And I felt very, very accomplished yesterday. Thank you, YouTube, by the way. Far too expensive for me currently. You gave us a coupon code, no idea of the link. Oh, okay, maybe it was a coupon code. Movie. Let's see. Get the movie. Let's see, there I am right there, without a beard. Bulk order tickets, interesting. Add to cart. Wow, upsells, nice. Where do I add? Okay, I don't know. We'll have to check that out. Anyway, apologize. Yo, this is amazing. We had a great day, Daniela, LOL. Thanks to, again, PokeKobe for signing up and becoming a new member. Thanks to all the members here and all the non-members as well. I appreciate you so much. We are now 5 minutes since I'm saying the secret word, so we are clear now. I don't owe you a punishment, aka game of watch your mouth so far, but I do tend to miss it every once in a while. Oh, Pat VIP. I think that does sound familiar. If I were to check out, what would happen? Ah, okay. So when you check out Pat VIP, boom. Yes, thank you. Pat VIP. Thank you, Stephanie. So when you check out, Pat VIP is the code, and that's right on the billing page. So thank you for that. All right, yo, thank you so much for coming in today. Everybody, I appreciate you. We're going to start tomorrow at the exact same time. Hold up, let me make sure. My team is off on, yep, 9 o'clock. We'll be good 9 o'clock throughout the entire week, including Thanksgiving Day. We're going 9 the whole way through. So we're going to start at the same time every single day this week, which will be nice. And how do we insert subscriber names into email automatically in ConvertKit? This is going to be something that will require people to... So anyway, we can get into that a little bit later. There's likely some documentation or things about that, but I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, thank you so much for, again, coming in today. I appreciate you. Where was the secret word yesterday? It was there. It was there. And I said it because it was there. I'm pretty sure it was there. It was used not in a great way, though. And I remember calling myself out on that, but I still used it. Anyway, yo, thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate you. Please have an amazing weekend. And I will see you on Monday, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Take care. Appreciate you. And as always, Team Flynn for the win.
Bruh.
Oh, we got to do the song.
This is the income stream
to
help you achieve your dream.
There we go.
Oh, while we keep it clean, this is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Thanks, everybody. Anybody noticed this piece of artwork back here? Make sure when you come in the mornings, look at that spot. That's going to change up every once in a while. As we are starting to move out from the WeWork, I'm getting a lot of stuff being sent back to the house, and we're going to have some fun with that. So anyway, thanks so much. Take care. Appreciate you. Have a good one. Peace.
Bruh.